Peace. Peace and welcome. Today we're going to talk about possession. The same way we got demon possessions, we got angel possessions. And all that means is filling your cup with virtue or sin. Karma works in a way that she fills your cup. And as your cup full and overflow, you're able to overflow with misfortune or fortune. Demons like hate, envy, and a host of many others fill your cup with sins, and sooner than not, bad things start to happen. Or they take over possessionally and you do something that you shouldn't do. Same with angels, the higher virtues. You fill your cup with joy, helpfulness, and a whole host of other angels. When it overflows, we get fortune. It just comes into our life. So we could talk about two angels today. One is called peace, and this he used the word calmness, but I used the word peace. You're going to talk about that and help you to fill your cup with peace. And you're going to talk about happiness. So peace and happiness, two angels, two higher virtues. And it's gonna be kind of long, so I'm gonna try not to. That's why I'm trying to think now, so I don't want to commentate too much through it. A quick read. I want to make it a quick read. So calmness is the rarest quality in human life. Angel. It is the poise of a great nature, in harmony with itself and its ideals. It is the moral atmosphere of a life centered, self-reliant, and self-controlled. Peace is singleness of purpose, absolute confidence, and conscious power, ready to be focused in an instant to meet any crisis. The Sphinx is not a true type of calmness. Petrification is not calmness, it is death. Petrification is just idleness, sitting still. The silencing of all the energies. While no one loves his life more fully, more intensely, and more consciously than the man who is calm. Or at peace, the angel peace. The fatalist is not calm. He is the coward slave of his environment, hopelessly surrendering to his present condition, recklessly indifferent to his future. He accepts his life as a rudderless ship drifting on the ocean of time. He has no compass, no chart, no known port to which he is sailing. His self-confessed inferiority to all nature is shown in his existence of constant surrender. It is not peace. So we're basically giving you a rundown of this angel. Who is it? Who is her? Who is calmness? And then he gonna go on to teach you how to fill your cup with it. The man who is calm as his course in life clearly marked on his chart. His hand is ever on the helm. Storm, fog, night, tempest, danger, hidden reefs. He is ever prepared and ready for them. He is made calm and serene by the realization that in these crises of his voyage he needs a clear mind and a cool head. That he has not to do but to do each day the best he can by the light or knowledge he has. That he will never flinch nor falter for a moment. That though he may have to tack and leave his course for a time, he will never drift. We're using the metaphorical navigational ship, but we're talking about navigating through life. will get back into his true channel, and he will keep ever headed towards the harbor, his harbor. When he will reach it, how he will reach it matters not to him. When or how. He rests in calmness, knowing he has done his best. If his best seems to be overthrown or overruled, then he must still bow his head in peace. To no man is permitted to know the future of his life, the finality. God commits to man ever only new beginnings, new wisdom, new days to use the best of his knowledge. Peace comes ever from within. It is the peace and the restfulness of the depths of our nature. The fury of the storm and of the wind agitate only the surface of the sea. They can penetrate only 200 or 300 feet. Below that is the calm, unruffled deep. To be ready for the great crisis of life, we must learn serenity in our daily living. And that's something you could do to fill your cup with calmness and peace. And you'll manifest peace in your life. You'll start manifesting around you. Calmness is the crown of self-control. When the worries and the cares of the day fret you and begin to wear upon you, and you chafe under the friction, be calm. Stop, rest for a moment, and let calmness and peace assert themselves. If you let these irritating outside influences get the better of you, you are confessing your inferiority to them by permitting them to dominate you or possess. In our case, we're talking about angels or demons. These can possess you and harm your body. Study the disturbing elements, each by itself. Bring all the willpower of the nature to bear upon them, and you will find that they will, one by one, melt into nothingness, like the vapors fading before the sun. The glow of calmness that will then pervade your mind, the tingling sensation of an inflow of new strength, may be to you the beginning of the revelation of the supreme calmness that is possible for you. I'll keep going. Then some great hour of your life, when you stand face to face with some awful trial, when the structure of your ambition and life work crumbles in a moment, you will be brave, and that because you already let this host use the Lord of hosts sending you angels called calmness or peace. And it might don't affect you at the moment, but you're filling your cup with it, and that's going to turn to things like bravery, ambitions, life work, success, prosperity. And you seem lucky and fortunate to the outside world, but they don't know your works. You can then fold your arm calmly, look out undismayed and undaunted upon the ashes of your hope, upon the wreck of what you have faithfully bore with the brave heart and unfulfilled faltering voice. You may say, so let it be, I will bold again. When the tongue of malice and slander, the persecution of inferiority tempts you for just a moment to retaliate, when for an instant you forget yourself so far as to hunger for revenge, be calm. When a gray heron is pursued by its enemy, the eagle, another parable, let's look into it. It does not run to escape. The heron, it remains calm, takes a dignified stand, and waits quietly, facing the enemy, unmoved. With the terrific force with which the eagles make his attack, the boasted king of birds is often impaled and run through on the quiet lance-like bow of the heron. The means that man takes to kill another character becomes suicide of his own. No man in the world ever attempted to wrong another without being injured in return. Some way, somehow, sometime. Because they fill in their cup with sins, demons, instead of angels. And sooner or later, karma will, when that cup overflow, that's when bad things happen. some way, somehow, and sometime. The only weapons of offense that nature seems to recognize is the boomerang. Nature keeps her books admirably. She puts down every item. She closes all accounts finally, but she does not always balance them at the end of the month. To them, so see, like I saying, like ain't always coming. She work on her own time. Twitter like that, but don't fill your cup too much. To the man who is calm, revenge is far beneath him that he cannot reach it, even by stooping. When injured, he does not retaliate. He wraps around him the royal robe of calmness, and he goes quietly on his way. When the hand of death touches the one who holds dearest, paralyzes our energy and eclipses the sun of our life, the calmness that has been accumulating, right, filling the cup in long years, becomes, in a moment of refuge, our reserve strength for griefs, right? We all go through these griefs that we can't change. It's going to happen. By getting through it, you filling your cup so you'll be able to get through it, even those mental state. The most subtle of all temptations is the seeming success of the wicked. The seeming. It requires moral courage to see, without flinching, material prosperity coming to men who are dishonest. To see politicians rise into prominence, power, and wealth by trickery and corruption. To see virtue in rags and vice in valets. To see ignorance at a premium. Tell me that what it is today. And knowledge at a discount. To the man who is really calm, these puzzles of life do not appeal. He is living his life best as he can. He is not worrying about the problems of justice, whose solution must be left to God to solve. On God now, right? So you gotta have those things. You can't let these things get to you. And we see these a lot. And these things is temptations by demons try to tempt you to get rid of some of that calmness spirit that you've been accumulating. They want to trick you, so they show you these things, imagery, shiny things, and they show you with the violence of men. They make you want to go against your own inner work to fill it with good spirits. So keep in mind, when man has developed the spirit of calmness until it becomes so absolutely part of him that he is very presence radiates it. So he putting it back out now. That's when the cup full. It has made great progress in life. Calmness cannot be acquired by itself or by itself. Of itself or by itself. It must come as the culmination of a series of virtues. So you see, you feeling it. What the world needs and what individuals needs is a higher standard of living, a great realization, sense of the privilege and dignity of life, a higher and nobler conception of individuality. With this great sense of calmness permeating in an individual, man become able to retire more into himself, away from the noise, the confusion and strife of the world, which come to his ears only as faint, far off rumblings, or as a tumult of the life of a city, heard only as a buzzing hum by a man in a balloon. The man who is calm does not selfishly isolate himself from the world, for he is intensely interested in all the concerns of welfare of humanity. Right? They're around, analyzing everything. Man, the ways, the spirits, how they let it possess, cultivate in them. The calmness is but a holy of holies, into which he can retire from the world to get strength to live in the world. So he'll be able to live in the world and be much help because his mind and heart is well. People who live out of the world, from the world, and ain't living in it with the holy strength that they bound to mess up. They bound to destroy themselves. So this Holy One, he'll be around to have the wisdom and to have the help that humanity needs. He around, he available, and he uses calmness to get through. He realizes that the full glory of the individuality, the crowning of his self-control, is the majesty of peace, the spirit of the angel of peace. So we're going to talk about the next angel, happiness. We're going to pause and come back. Okay, another angel, happiness. During my whole life, I have not had 24-hour happiness, so said the Prince Bismarck. One of the greatest statesmen of the 19th century. 83 years of wealth, fame, honor, power, influence, prosperity, and triumph. Years when he held an empire in his fingers. But guess what? Not one day of happiness. Happiness is the greatest paradox in nature. It can grow in any soil, live under any condition. It defies environment. And I learned that a long time ago. I was watching the History Channel, and these people been in the forest, and they were so happy. And before that, happiness in my mind been what I see on TV, and material things. They had a mansion. They were in the forest, half naked. In modern times, they choose to love it, but they all have big smiles. The whole tribe. And that been confusing me at that time. Like, were they happy? Like, but throughout I never forget that, because that made me realize happiness is a spirit. It ain't got nothing to do with what we being taught through our senses on earth. The spirit works, got its own ways. And we're gonna talk about how to fill our cups with it. It comes from within. It is the revelation of the depths of the inner life as light and heat proclaim the sun from which they radiate. Happiness consists not of having, but of being, not of possessing, but of enjoying. It is the warm glow of a heart at peace with itself. A martyr at the stake may have happiness that a king on his throne might envy. So at first, just like the other angel, we're going to talk about what it is. Then we're going to talk about filling your cup with it. A man is the creator of his own happiness. It is the aroma of a life lived in harmony with high ideals. For what a man has, he may be dependent on others. What he is rests with him alone. What he obtains in life is but acquisition. What he attains is growth. Happiness is the soul's joy in the possession of the intangible. Absolute, perfect, continuous happiness is life, is impossible for the human. It would mean the consummation of attainments, the individual consciousness of a perfectly fulfilled destiny. Happiness is paradox because it may coexist with trial, sorrow, and poverty. It is the gladness of the heart, rising superior to all conditions. Happiness has a number of understudies, which is happiness is the angel. Then the angel's legions would be gratification, satisfaction, content, pleasure. So you for yourself with the smaller, the lesser angels, gratification, satisfaction, content, and pleasure. You fill yourself up with happiness. And how to gratification, satisfaction, content, and pleasures. Clever imitators that simulate its appearance rather than emulate its method. Gratification is a harmony between our desires and our possessions. Harmony, gratification, happiness come from that. Yep. It is ever incomplete. It is the thankful acceptance of part. It is a mental pleasure and a quality of what one receives, and an unsatisfiedness as to the quantity. It may be an element in happiness, but in itself it is not happiness, it's just a legion. Satisfaction is perfect identity of our desires and our possessions. It exists only so long as the perfect union and unity can be preserved. But every realized ideal gives birth to new ideals, right? Satisfaction is unattainable mostly. Every step is advanced reveals large domains of the unattained. Every feeling stimulates new appetites. Then the desire and possession are no longer identical, no longer equal, right? Because you got new desires when you attain those. The new craving call forth new activities. The equipoise is destroyed, and the dissatisfaction re-enters. Man might possess everything tangible in the world and yet not be happy. For happiness, the satisfying of the soul, not of the mind or the body. This satisfaction, in its highest sense, is the keynote of all advanced, the evidence of new aspirations, the guarantee of the progressive revelation of new possibilities. So dissatisfaction ain't truly it's not a demon, legion. It's needed for advancement and aspirations and progressions. Dissatisfaction, right? Not a bad thing. Content is a greatly overrated virtue. It is kind of diluted despair. It is the feeling with which we continue to accept substitutes without striving for the realities. So accepting shadows without striving, creating those shadows that we idolize within our mental state so we can get the realities, right? I always use the Instagram model for example. I can stop pausing them and get another parable. But the woman around us holds the same beauty just in our mental mind that we think that the unattainableness create a magnification of the beauty of the Instagram model compared to the woman that we walk around every day. And of course, Hollywood makeup and all that costs a lot, and they do all that, but still, you know the realities. You create the beauty in your head and your heart, and they're gonna possess you, and you start to see Instagram all everywhere in your real life. Content makes the trained individual swallow vinegar and try to smack his lip as if it were wine. Content enables one to warm his hands at the fire of the past joy that exists only in memory. Content is the mental and moral chloroform that deadens the activities of the individual to rise to a higher plane of life and growth. Man should never be contented with anything less than the best efforts of his nature can possibly secure for him. Content makes the world more comfortable for the individual, but it is the death knell of progress. Man should be content with each step of progress, merely as a station. So that's what we do. We collect merit and bow merit over time. We don't stop. We just keep stages, like just like school does. Give you graduation grades, graduate from middle, high, then you go to the next levels. We stop and be content and happy for that step being passed. discontent with it as a destination, contented with it as a step. So again, you can use discontent as a weapon for the angel. With it as a step, discontented with it as a finality. So you use content and discontent at your will, these forces. There are times when a man should be content with what he has, but never with what he is. Always keep growing the inside to infinity. But the material things we can be content with, no problem. But content is not happiness, neither is pleasure. Pleasure is temporary. Happiness is continuous. Pleasure is a note. Happiness is a symphony. Pleasure may exist when conscious others protest. Happiness never. Pleasure may have its dregs and its lees, but none can be found in the cup of happiness. Man is the only animal that can be really happy, and the rest of creation belong only weak imitation of the understudies. Happiness, which is the lower spirits of happiness that we read in 4. Happiness represents a peaceful attunement of a life with the standard of living. It can never be made by the individual by himself for himself. It is one of the incidental byproducts of an unselfish life. No man can make his own happiness the one object of his life and attain it. And that's mostly true, because all these attainments of earthly things to obtain the happiness, most people want to be seen with it. So they want to take a picture on Instagram, show everybody a new outfit. The happiness coming from others. It can never be made by the individual. It is one of the incidental byproducts of the unselfish life. No man can make his own happiness the one object of his life and attain it, any more than he can jump on the far end of a shadow. If you would hit the bullseye of happiness on the target of life, aim above it. Place other things higher than your own happiness, and it will surely come to you. So always keep other things to strive for. You can buy pleasure. You can acquire content. You can become satisfied, but nature never put real happiness on the bargain counter. It is the undetachable accompaniment of true living. It is calm and peaceful. It never lives in an atmosphere of worry and hopeless struggle. And you can see that this angel is a stubborn host to manifest constantly. You can manifest in spurts, right? The basis of happiness is the love of something outside self, right? I just finished explaining that. Search every instance of happiness in the world, and you will find when all the incidental features are eliminated, there is always the constant, unchangeable element of love. Love of a parent for a child, love of man and woman for each other, love of humanity in some form, or a great life work into which the individual throws all his energies. In completion of that life work, you filling up a boundless amount of happiness. Love of parents for a child, of course, man and woman, of course, and of humanity in some form. All that is ways to use your body and soul and mind as a host for happiness. You don't live in the body, so the soul and the spirit. Happiness is the voice of optimism, of faith, of simple, steadfast love. No cynic or pessimist can be really happy. A cynic is a man who is morally nearsighted and brags about it. He sees the evil in his own heart and thinks he sees the world. He let a mote in his eye eclipse the sun. An incurable cynic is an individual who should long for death. For life cannot bring him happiness, death might. The keynote of Bismarck's last lack of happiness was his profound distrust of human nature. There is a royal road to happiness. It lies in consecration, concentration, conquest, and conscience. Consecration is the dedicating the individual life to the service of others, to some noble mission, to realizing some unselfish ideal. Life is not something to be lived through, and it's something to be lived up to. It is a privilege, not a penal servitude so many decades on earth. Consecration places the object of life above the mere acquisition of money as a finality. The man who is unselfish, kind, loving, tender, helpful, ready to lighten the burden of those around him, to hearten the struggling ones, to forget himself sometimes in remembrance of others, is on the right road and filling his cup with the angel of happiness. Consecration is ever active, bold, and aggressive, fearing not but possible disloyalty to high ideals. Concentration makes the individual life simpler and deeper. It cuts away the shams and the pretenses of modern living and limit life to its truest essentials. Worry, fear, useless regret, all the great wastes that sap mental, moral, and physical energy must be sacrificed, or the individual needlessly destroy half of the possibilities of living. A great purpose in life, sometimes that unifies the strands and threads of each day's thinking, sometimes something that takes the sting from the petty trials, sorrows, sufferings, and blunders of life, is a great aid to concentration. And demons or those type of hosts cling on to these things that happen naturally to us, and they cling on and try to make it worse. It's a great aid to concentration. Soldiers in a battle may forget their wounds or even be unconscious of them in the inspiration of battling for what they believe is right. Concentration dignifies and humble life. It makes a great life sublime. And morals is the shortcut to simplicity. It leads to right for right's sake, without thought of policy or of reward. It brings calm and rest to the individual, a serenity that is but the sunlight of happiness. So these consecration, these how you fill your cup. Conquest is the overcoming of an evil habit, the rising superior to opposition and attack, the spiritual exaltation that comes from resisting the evasion of the groveling material side of life. Demons. Sometimes when you are worn and weak with the struggle, when it seems that justice is a dream, that honesty and loyalty and truth comes for nothing, that the devil is the only good paymaster, when hope grows dim and flickers, then it is time when you must tower in the great sublime faith that right must prevail, that then must you throttle these imps of doubt and despair. You must master yourself to master the world around you, because they are going to be these tempting things. It's going to tempt you to not do right, to fill your cup with these spirits, and then you're on the road to fill your cup with others, the paymaster. This is conquest. Conquest, the battle between your demons and angels. We are four with both. We cannot be four with both. This is what counts. Even a log can float with the current. It takes a man to fight sturdily against an opposing tide that will sweep his craft out of its course. And again, another example of you as being the angels and demons positions, hosts of. It's like if you want to boat or you want to set up a garden, the only thing that will stop you is the devil, which is you saying, I didn't feel like doing it today, or starting. That's you telling yourself that's the battle of conquest you got to fight against. Nothing else really going to stop you on the outside world. The first person going to stop you is yourself. from doing anything that your higher self want to do. So when even the law can float, it takes a man to fight sturdily against the opposing tide will sweep his craft out of its course. When the jealousies, the petty intrigues, and the meanness and the misunderstanding in life assails you, rise above them. Be like the lighthouse that illuminate and beautiful the snarling, the swashing waves, and these where you, as this angel got swords, also angels and demons got swords. These who you stick, this who you battling against, petty intrigues, misunderstandings in life. That's where the demons coming at you with, swinging a sword of jealousy and misunderstandings and rise above them. Be like the lighthouse that illuminates and beautifies the snarlings, swashing waves of the storm that threatens it, that seeks to undermine it and seeks to wash over it. This is conquest. When a chance to win fame, wealth, success, or attainment of your heart's desire by sacrifice of honor or principle comes to you, and it does not affect you long enough even to seem a temptation, you have become the victor. That too is conquest, turning negatives into positive. And conquest is part of the royal road to happiness. Conscious. Before we go to conscious, let me take a break right quick. Conscious. The last semi-angel. No underling for happiness. Conscious as the mentor, the guide, and the compass of every act. Leads ever to happiness. So your conscious is the mind that works with you in this frequency, this earth plane life. The subconscious work through the horse. As you, for your horse, you become a person who just loving, because you for your horse with that, and now you become that in the conscious realm, or a person who just vindictive or hateful. You following your horse with these, your subconscious, which going to come out in the conscious eventually and cause an act manifest. So that's why the conscious is the guide, the compass, and the mentor that leads ever to happiness. When the individual can stay along with his conscious and gets its approval without using force or species logic, then he begins to know what real happiness is. So a subconscious is the happiness coming without a fake happiness. Let's put it like that. It's natural now because of the subconscious already working on its own. At first, you might need to learn these lessons and create these hosts for your body. Let the subconscious start working on its own. Defeat all the hosts that gonna try to stop it. And this is where you get to the point. Real happiness. But the individual must be careful that he is not appealing to a conscious perverted or deadened by the wrongdoing and subsequent deafness of his owner. Right? You can get real happiness with evil hosts. Also, they will give you the devil going to give you things that make you happy also. The man who is honestly seeking to live his life in concentration, and conquest, living from day to day as best he can by the light he has, may rely explicitly on his conscience. He can shut his ears to what the world says and find approval of his own conscience, the highest earthly tribune. Wherever how you perceive the world. The voice of the infinite communing with the individual, the little stove voice within. Unhappiness is the hunger to get. Happiness is the hunger to give. So unhappiness is the hunger to get. obtain things. Happiness is the hunger to give. Man, that's deep. True happiness must ever have a tinge of sorrow outlived. A tinge of sorrow outlived. The sense of pain softened by the mellow years. That's wisdom also contains with happiness. The chastening of loss, that is the wondrous mystery of the time, transmutes our suffering to love and sympathy with others. If the individuals is set out for a single day to give happiness, to make life happier, brighter, and sweeter, not for himself but for others, he will find a wondrous revelation of what happiness really is. The greatest of the world heroes cannot, by any series of acts of heroism, do as much good as any individual living his whole life in seeking from day to day to make others happy. Each day there should be resolution, new strength, and renewed enthusiasm just for today. Might be the daily motto of 1,000 societies throughout the country, composed of members bound together to make the world better through constant simple acts of kindness, constant deeds of sweetness and love, and happiness will come to them in its highest and best form, not because they would seek to absorb it, but because they seek to radiate it. Give it out. For people, cops who deserve it. Like a Ponzi scheme. If everybody giving it, you will eventually be giving it back. You will be given by one of the ones who out giving it. Eventually you're going to be attracting those people all the time, and that's where your cup overflow. You're going to be fortunate. Blessed. And then from The Majesty of Calmness by William George Jordan. He got like 3 other chapters we read too. I always read almost the whole book. But we'll see you in this chapter 3. We'll see you in chapter 4, where you're going to look at lesser spirits and the effect and how it can possess you. It's all going with, it's the only science really when it comes to gentlemanness or gentlewomaness, nobility. The inside show affect the outside, not the other way around. So peace till next time.